Did you know that Canada's divorce rates are skyrocketing in 2025? Families are breaking apart at a pace we've never seen before, and the reasons go far beyond simple arguments. From crushing financial stress to the overwhelming housing crisis, from hidden digital infidelity to shifting social norms, marriages across the nation are under attack. But what's truly shocking is how these forces are silently shaping relationships in ways most people don't even realize. Stay with us, because today we're breaking down the 10 biggest reasons why divorce is exploding in Canada right now. Number 10. Unrealistic expectations. The final factor fueling the rise in Canadian divorces during 2025 is the growing issue of unrealistic expectations within modern marriages. In today's world, couples often enter relationships with visions shaped by social media, movies, and romanticized ideals. While these portrayals can be inspiring, they also set the stage for disappointment when real life fails to match the picture-perfect image. Platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, and other online spaces frequently showcase glamorous lifestyles filled with travel, luxury, and constant romance. Couples begin comparing their own relationships to these polished highlights and feel like they are falling short. When ordinary struggles like bills, chores, and work stress set in, the gap between expectation and reality creates frustration and resentment. Another common issue arises from the belief that marriage should always feel exciting and effortless. In reality, long-term relationships require patience, compromise, and commitment. When partners expect constant passion and flawless harmony, normal conflicts or periods of routine may be misinterpreted as signs that the marriage is failing. This misunderstanding often leads people to walk away rather than work through challenges. Generational attitudes also play a role. Younger couples today are more likely to expect equality in emotional support, finances, and household responsibilities. While these expectations are positive in theory, unmet demands can create disappointment if one partner feels the other is not pulling their weight. The pressure of maintaining the perfect marriage also extends to milestones. Some couples expect to own a home quickly, start families on schedule, or achieve financial success within a few years. When these goals prove difficult due to Canada's economic realities, the resulting stress can weaken the foundation of the marriage. Experts note that while ambition and high standards are healthy, unrealistic expectations often leave little room for growth, mistakes, or compromise. The inability to accept imperfections turns manageable challenges into deal-breakers. By 2025, these inflated ideals have become a silent driver of divorce across Canada. When the dream of a flawless marriage collides with real-world struggles, many couples choose separation, believing their partner failed to meet expectations that may never have been realistic in the first place. Number 9. Domestic violence and abuse. A heartbreaking factor behind the rise in Canadian divorces during 2025 is the growing awareness and reporting of domestic violence and abuse. While abuse within marriages has existed for centuries, the difference today is that more victims are recognizing their rights and finding the courage to leave unhealthy relationships. Domestic violence can take many forms, including physical abuse, emotional manipulation, verbal aggression, and financial control. Each of these leaves lasting scars, damaging the trust and safety that are essential for a healthy marriage. When one partner feels unsafe in their own home, separation often becomes the only viable solution. Reports from advocacy groups and law enforcement show an increase in cases being documented, not necessarily because violence itself has suddenly spiked, but because awareness campaigns have empowered more people to speak out. Support services, shelters, and legal protections are now more widely available, giving victims a clearer path to escape harmful environments. Social movements emphasizing women's rights and mental health awareness have also played a crucial role. These initiatives encourage victims to prioritize their well-being rather than endure silent suffering. In many cases, friends, family members, or even co-workers are stepping in to guide victims towards safety, breaking the isolation that often accompanies abuse. Financial independence is another driving force. With more Canadian women participating in the workforce and gaining access to resources, victims now have the means to leave abusive partners. In earlier decades, many remained trapped due to financial dependency, but this barrier is slowly eroding. Domestic violence does not only affect the couple involved, it deeply impacts children who witness conflict at home. Studies show that children exposed to abuse are more likely to face emotional trauma, developmental challenges, and long-term trust issues. For many parents, protecting their children becomes the final push to leave. By 2025, the willingness to walk away from abusive marriages is stronger than ever. Increased awareness, support systems, and legal protections are giving victims the strength to prioritize safety and dignity, even though this trend has contributed significantly to the rising divorce statistics in Canada. Number 8. Legal changes. Another factor contributing to the rise in Canadian divorces during 2025 is the impact of legal changes that have made the process of separation more accessible and less intimidating. In the past, divorce was often seen as a complicated, expensive, and drawn-out ordeal. Many couples chose to remain in unhappy marriages simply because the legal pathway to separation felt overwhelming. Today, however, changes in the system have shifted this reality. Canada's legal framework has been gradually updated to provide a more streamlined process for ending marriages. New rules allow for faster procedures, reduced paperwork, and in some cases, more affordable access to family courts. With simplified steps, couples who once delayed separation due to legal obstacles now find it easier to move forward. The expansion of online services has also played a role. Many provinces now allow parts of the divorce process to be handled digitally, making it more convenient for people to file paperwork or attend virtual hearings. This level of accessibility removes barriers that previously discouraged couples from pursuing legal separation. Another significant change is the growing emphasis on no-fault divorce. Rather than proving wrongdoing such as infidelity or abuse, couples can now simply state that their marriage has broken down irreparably. This reduces the emotional and financial burden of fighting lengthy legal battles and encourages couples to separate with less resistance. These changes, while designed to improve fairness and efficiency, have unintentionally led to an increase in divorce rates. When separation is viewed as less daunting and more affordable, couples who were once hesitant feel empowered to act. Family law experts also point out that greater awareness of legal rights encourages people, especially women in difficult marriages, to pursue divorce with more confidence. The law now provides stronger protections around child custody, spousal support, and domestic safety, ensuring that individuals are not trapped in harmful relationships. By 2025, these legal reforms have created an environment where divorce is not only more acceptable socially but also more achievable practically. As a result, legal accessibility has become a powerful driver in Canada's increasing divorce statistics. Number 7. Immigration pressures. A lesser discussed but increasingly significant factor in the rise of divorces across Canada in 2025 is the set of unique challenges faced by immigrant families. Canada welcomes hundreds of thousands of newcomers every year, but the process of settling in a new country often comes with enormous pressures that strain relationships and, in many cases, lead to marital breakdown. One of the biggest issues is cultural adjustment. Couples arriving from different parts of the world must adapt to a society with new norms, values, and expectations. When partners adjust at different paces, conflicts can arise. For example, one spouse may embrace Canadian culture quickly, while the other clings more strongly to traditions from their homeland. These differences can create emotional distance and frequent disagreements. Separation from extended family also adds strain. In many cultures, extended families provide daily support with childcare, emotional advice, and financial stability. In Canada, many immigrants live far away from their relatives, leaving couples to face challenges alone. This isolation often intensifies stress, particularly when raising children or coping with financial hardships. Financial pressure is another major contributor. Many newcomers struggle with job insecurity, underemployment, or recognition of their credentials. When one partner feels stuck in low-paying work or carries the burden of supporting the entire household, resentment builds. This frustration often spills into the relationship, fueling arguments and dissatisfaction. Language barriers and social integration challenges also play a role. Without strong communication skills, some immigrants find it difficult to connect socially or professionally, which can lead to feelings of loneliness. When these frustrations are brought into the marriage, they further damage the relationship. Research suggests that immigrant couples often face higher divorce risks in their early years of settlement compared to long-term residents. The combination of cultural adjustment, financial hardship, and social isolation creates a fragile foundation that can collapse under pressure. By 2025, immigration pressures have become a clear factor in Canada's divorce statistics. While Canada offers opportunities for a better life, the struggles of adaptation are pushing many families apart, highlighting the emotional cost behind the immigration dream. Number 6. Infidelity in the digital age. Another major reason contributing to the rise in divorces in Canada during 2025 is the growing issue of infidelity in the digital age. Unlike the past, where affairs often required physical contact, today's technology has made it easier than ever for individuals to form secret emotional or romantic connections online. Social media platforms, dating apps, and even professional networking sites provide constant opportunities for interaction. A casual direct message, a late-night chat, or seemingly innocent online flirting can quickly escalate into something deeper. Many Canadians now describe emotional cheating as just as damaging as physical infidelity, since it creates betrayal and a breakdown of trust within the marriage. One of the unique challenges of digital infidelity is its accessibility. With smartphones in everyone's pocket, temptation is always close by. People no longer need to leave their homes to engage in questionable behavior. A partner may be sitting beside their spouse while secretly exchanging intimate messages with someone else. This hidden nature fuels suspicion and makes rebuilding trust extremely difficult once the truth is revealed. Research has shown that couples experiencing infidelity often struggle to recover, even when counseling is attempted. The sense of betrayal can be overwhelming, leading one or both partners to choose separation. In many cases, the secrecy around digital interactions leaves the betrayed partner feeling as though they were excluded from a part of their spouse's life, intensifying the emotional damage. The cultural normalization of casual connections also plays a role. Apps that encourage swiping and short-term encounters send the message that commitment is disposable. This mindset, combined with constant access, increases the likelihood of people seeking excitement outside their marriage. By 2025, infidelity has become more complex than ever before. It is no longer limited to physical affairs but extends to the digital world, where emotional bonds can form quickly and secretly. The combination of accessibility, secrecy, and shifting attitudes toward commitment has made digital age infidelity one of the most common triggers behind Canadian divorces, further fueling the overall rise in marital breakdowns. Number 5. Mental health struggles. A growing factor behind the increase in divorces across Canada in 2025 is the rise in mental health struggles. Over the last few years, Canadians have faced heightened levels of stress, anxiety, and depression, fueled by economic uncertainty, housing challenges, and global instability. These mental health pressures are not only affecting individuals but also taking a toll on marriages. When one or both partners struggle with mental health issues, relationships often become strained. Everyday tasks such as communication, parenting, and financial planning become more difficult. Emotional support, which is a foundation of healthy marriages, can be harder to provide when each partner feels overwhelmed by their own inner battles. This lack of mutual support frequently leads to frustration, resentment, and eventual separation. The lingering effects of the pandemic also continue to shape family life. Lockdowns and social isolation left lasting scars on mental well-being. Couples who once had strong connections found themselves dealing with heightened loneliness, loss of routine, and reduced social outlets. These conditions worsened feelings of disconnection and created tension that has not fully healed even in 2025. Research shows a direct link between poor mental health and relationship dissatisfaction. High levels of stress can trigger constant arguments, while depression may reduce intimacy and affection. Partners may feel neglected, misunderstood, or emotionally abandoned, even if the cause is unintentional. Over time, this erodes the trust and closeness needed to sustain a marriage. Access to mental health care, while improving in Canada, still faces challenges such as long wait times and high costs for private therapy. Without consistent support, many couples struggle to manage the emotional fallout on their own. This gap often leaves partners feeling hopeless, pushing them toward the decision to separate. By 2025, the rising prevalence of mental health struggles has emerged as a silent but powerful driver of divorce in Canada. While awareness campaigns and open conversations are helping reduce stigma, the reality remains that unresolved mental health challenges are tearing apart countless marriages and reshaping family structures nationwide. Number 4. Shifting social norms. Another reason fueling the rise in Canadian divorces during 2025 is the dramatic change in social norms surrounding marriage and separation. In previous generations, divorce carried heavy stigma and was often viewed as a last resort. Today, however, the cultural landscape has shifted, making it far more acceptable for couples to walk away from unhappy relationships. Modern Canadian society increasingly values individual happiness and personal fulfillment over maintaining tradition. People are encouraged to prioritize their mental and emotional well-being rather than endure long-term suffering in a troubled marriage. This shift means that more individuals feel empowered to make the decision to separate when the relationship no longer supports their goals, values, or personal growth. The influence of media and technology has also played a role in this transformation. Television shows, movies, and social platforms frequently portray divorce as a natural part of life's journey. Instead of being seen as a failure, it is often depicted as a step towards self-discovery and new opportunities. Such portrayals shape public perception and reduce the guilt once associated with ending a marriage. Generational differences also stand out. Younger Canadians, particularly millennials and Gen Z, approach relationships with different expectations compared to older generations. They are less willing to stay in marriages marked by dissatisfaction, inequality, or lack of intimacy. Surveys suggest that younger people are more likely to leave relationships that do not meet their standards of fairness and mutual respect. Religious and cultural institutions, which once strongly opposed divorce, now hold less influence over Canadian families. With the decline in religious affiliation, fewer people feel bound by traditional teachings that discouraged separation. As a result, couples are making decisions based on personal needs rather than community judgment. This normalization of divorce creates both positive and negative effects. On one hand, it frees individuals from toxic or unfulfilling relationships. On the other, it contributes to the overall divorce statistics by encouraging couples to view separation as a practical option. By 2025, the shift in social norms has become a major factor explaining why more Canadians are choosing to pursue divorce. Number 3, work-life imbalance. A major driver behind the rising divorce rates in Canada during 2025 is the overwhelming issue of work-life imbalance. As the cost of living continues to soar, many Canadians are taking on longer hours, multiple jobs, or side hustles just to stay financially stable. While this may ease financial burdens, it often comes at the cost of personal time, intimacy, and family life. Couples who spend too much time working and too little time together begin to lose their sense of connection. Without shared moments to relax, talk, or enjoy each other's company, partners often feel neglected. Over time, this creates emotional distance that can be difficult to repair. The rise of remote work has also contributed to this imbalance. On one hand, working from home should provide more flexibility, but in reality, many people are now working longer hours, blurring the line between personal and professional life. Constant availability through emails, video calls, and deadlines means that work follows people into their living rooms and even bedrooms. This intrusion leaves couples with little space to nurture their relationships. Studies have consistently shown that couples who fail to maintain a healthy work-life balance report higher levels of stress, frustration, and dissatisfaction. When one partner feels ignored or undervalued because the other is constantly busy with work, resentment builds. Eventually, arguments become more frequent, and both partners begin to question the value of the relationship. The imbalance also affects family life. Parents struggling to provide financially often sacrifice quality time with their children. This creates guilt, which further strains their marriage. Even leisure activities such as vacations or simple family dinners are cut short due to demanding schedules, leaving families feeling disconnected. A lack of balance doesn't just harm relationships emotionally, it also impacts mental health. Increased burnout, fatigue, and stress-related illnesses weaken individuals and make it harder to maintain patience and compassion in a marriage. By 2025, the inability to properly balance careers with personal lives has become a silent destroyer of Canadian marriages. Work, while essential for survival, is leaving couples feeling disconnected, resentful, and more likely to pursue divorce. Number 2, housing crisis. Another powerful factor fueling the rise of divorces in Canada during 2025 is the ongoing housing crisis. For many couples, a stable and affordable home is the foundation of a secure life together. Unfortunately, the Canadian real estate market has reached levels where owning or even renting a home feels nearly impossible for the average family. The cost of buying a house in major cities such as Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal has skyrocketed. Couples often find themselves locked in endless bidding wars or burdened with mortgages so high that nearly all of their monthly income is consumed. For those who rent, the situation is not much better, as rental prices continue to climb while wages struggle to keep pace. This imbalance creates constant stress and frustration in households. When partners feel trapped by their living conditions, tensions rise. For some, the dream of homeownership turns into a nightmare of financial exhaustion. Others feel forced to live with extended family, sacrificing privacy and independence, which can quickly strain a relationship. Even small disagreements often explode under the weight of housing insecurity. Research highlights that unstable housing is one of the most significant predictors of relationship dissatisfaction. When couples are uncertain about where they will live or whether they can keep up with payments, the anxiety spills into every conversation. Disputes about money, sacrifices, and long-term plans become unavoidable. Over time, these conflicts chip away at the emotional connection that once held partners together. The housing crisis also delays important family milestones. Many couples postpone marriage, having children, or even moving in together because the cost of securing a home is so overwhelming. This delay creates frustration, resentment, and sometimes a sense of failure, which only fuels the growing distance between partners. In 2025, the housing market in Canada has become more than a financial problem, it is now a relationship stressor. The inability to afford a safe and comfortable home leaves many couples feeling hopeless, resentful, and emotionally exhausted. For countless Canadians, the housing crisis has transformed from an economic challenge into a key driver of divorce. Number 1. Financial stress. One of the biggest reasons behind the rising divorce rates in Canada during 2025 is the overwhelming financial stress couples are facing. The Canadian economy has been struggling with high inflation, soaring interest rates, and an ever-growing cost of living. Families are finding it harder than ever to balance their income with the daily expenses of food, rent, transportation, and childcare. When money becomes a constant source of conflict, relationships begin to suffer. Studies have shown that couples who fight frequently about finances are more likely to experience marital breakdown compared to those who do not. Money-related arguments often spiral into larger disputes, creating tension in every aspect of family life. The housing crisis in particular has placed enormous pressure on Canadian households. With rent and mortgage payments skyrocketing, many couples are forced to make difficult sacrifices just to stay afloat. Some give up savings, while others work longer hours, which leaves less quality time for their partners. Over time, this financial burden erodes feelings of trust, love, and connection. Debt is another factor adding to the storm. From credit cards to student loans and car payments, Canadians are carrying more personal debt than ever before. When bills pile up, one partner may feel blamed for poor spending habits, while the other may feel trapped in an impossible situation. This cycle of frustration leads many relationships toward separation. What makes financial stress especially destructive is its ability to affect every corner of a marriage. It doesn't only harm the bank account, it impacts mental health, communication, and even physical well-being. Couples under constant financial strain often report higher levels of anxiety and depression, which further weakens the bond between them. In the end, financial stress becomes not just a money issue, but a relationship crisis. The inability to find stability and security leaves many Canadian couples in 2025 feeling overwhelmed, disconnected, and ultimately, more likely to choose divorce as their way forward. The rising divorce rates in Canada during 2025 are not the result of a single issue but rather a combination of powerful and interconnected factors. From financial stress and the ongoing housing crisis, to the growing challenges of work-life imbalance, mental health struggles, and digital age infidelity, couples are facing pressures unlike any seen in previous decades. Add to this the unique experiences of immigrant families, the influence of legal changes, the painful reality of domestic violence, and the weight of unrealistic expectations, and it becomes clear why marriages across the country are under such strain. What these reasons reveal is that divorce is rarely just about two people drifting apart. It reflects the economic conditions, cultural values, and social structures that shape everyday life. In many ways, the increase in divorces mirrors the struggles of an entire nation coping with uncertainty, rising costs, and evolving expectations. At the same time, it's important to recognize that divorce, while painful, can also represent a search for safety, dignity, and personal growth. For some, it's the end of a long battle; for others, it's the beginning of a healthier chapter. Understanding the causes behind this trend allows us to better address the needs of families and perhaps build stronger, more resilient relationships in the future. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Which of these reasons do you think has the biggest impact on Canadian marriages today? Speech Balloon. If you haven't already, check out our previous video for more eye-opening insights. Your support means the world to us. We put a lot of effort into creating these breakdowns, so please subscribe with just one click and help us grow this community.